Welcome. Today, Russia planning new massive attack on Ukraine. Satellite images show bombers lined up. Satellite images suggest Russia is planning a new massive attack on Ukraine. Weeks after much of Kiev's power grid was destroyed by Moscow's forces, more airstrikes could be on their way. New footage shared by German newspaper Spiegel shows increased activity at a military airport around 500 miles from the Ukraine border. The paper described an unusual amount of movement at Engels 2. It added that the airport was on increased alert. Military experts told the paper that Ukraine could soon be hit by a serious airstrike. Just days after Russian forces withdrew from Kherson, Ukrainian civilians were urged to leave the area due to power issues following from strikes on infrastructure. Kiev has also warned this winter will be particularly difficult for Ukrainians given nationwide energy issues. Fresh strikes, should they materialize, are likely to deepen fears over the months ahead for Ukrainian soldiers and civilians. Amid the reported movement at Engels 2 could be a batch of cruise missiles, according to one analyst. Konrad Musica, a military expert at Rockon Consulting, told Spiegel, "There's a lot of movement on the ground, a lot of aircraft being serviced and obviously getting ready for new missions. You also see carts that can be used to transport Kh-55 or Kh-101 cruise missiles." Engels 2 is understood to be one of the most important bases of the Russian Air Force. One satellite image of the site shows at least 13 planes along one airstrip. Putin justifies strikes on Ukraine's energy facilities as revenge for Crimean bridge attack. According to Moscow, Putin called the strikes on civilian infrastructure forced and inevitable. He claimed that Russian troops for a long time refrained from targeted missile strikes against certain targets on the territory of Ukraine, and added that it was a forced and inevitable reaction in response to Kiev's provocative attacks against Russia's civilian infrastructure, including the Crimean bridge and energy facilities. During the conversation, Putin once again brought up Western weapon supplies to the Ukrainian military. The dictator said that this leads to the fact that Kiev completely rejects the idea of any negotiations, despite having previously rejected any negotiation offers from Kiev, as evidenced by the continued presence of Russian troops on Ukrainian soil. Putin and Scholz also spoke about the grain initiative, where the Russian dictator asked the German chancellor to reportedly remove barriers to Russia's implementation of it. However, no such barriers exist. European Union officials set a $60 per barrel cap on the price of Russian oil Friday, in their latest effort to try to choke off funding sources for Moscow's war in Ukraine. Meanwhile, between 10,000 and 13,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed in the war with Russia so far, according to a reported estimate from Ukrainian presidential aide Mikhailo Podolyak. It is thought